Hello everyone and welcome to UCSB Edible Campus Program's pre-recorded series. My name is Noemi and today we are going to be having our first workshop on how to garden during the hot weather. So some of the topics we're going to be covering today are how we even define hot weather, what plants to be considerate of when we're gardening, what plants can grow in hot weather, and how to properly start seeds. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, let's go ahead and get started. So what do we consider to be hot weather? Well, for this workshop, we are going to focus on how to garden in areas that are prone to extremely high temperatures during the summer months, which for a lot of places, this also means a drier season. Some places in California, to give a few examples, are the Central Valley, the Inland Empire, and the Imperial Valley, which all experience very high temperatures, sometimes upwards of 90 degrees during the summer months. The Central Valley is a flat valley in California that spreads throughout the interior and includes cities like Fresno, Bakersfield, and Redding. The Inland Empire and the Imperial Valley are areas in the southern parts of California that are more eastern areas. The Inland Empire consists of Riverside and San Bernardino County. They are located southeast of LA County, and it includes cities like Riverside, Ontario, San Bernardino, and a lot more. And also the Imperial Valley is a lot more southeastern in California, and it's part of the Sonoran Desert. So now that we know what we mean by hot weather and hot weather gardening, let's go ahead and talk about some plant options. So first, we want to be considerate of a few different types of plants. Some examples are cole crops and most leafy greens. Cole crops are vegetables that are part of the mustard family. This includes vegetables like cabbage, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, kale, etc. These are all cool season vegetables that thrive a lot more in 60 to 70 degree weather. So obviously hot weather, weather that has temperatures that reaches, up to 90 degrees isn't ideal for these types of vegetables, though it can still be done. And also most leafy greens like lettuce and spinach will also prefer cooler weather from 50 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. And of course, it is still possible to grow these in hot weather, but it is something to be a little bit considerate of just because of the high temperatures that you will experience in hotter areas. So now we can go ahead and talk about what plants we are able to grow in the hot weather. So some plants that actually do pretty well even during the extreme heat are Jerusalem artichoke, sage, Malabar spinach, which is actually growing at West Campus currently, rosemary, okra, and summer squashes. The Jerusalem artichoke, also known as the sunchoke, is a type of root vegetable that is similar to the potato and is part of the sunflower family. They thrive in full sun and are able to withstand very high temperatures as long as they are watered properly. Usually, being watered once or twice consistently per week is enough as long as the temperature allows. Sage plants are also very drought tolerant. These plants will prefer more sandy and loamy soil that drains well, and they typically won't need to be watered as frequently as other plants. They can usually handle and at times prefer having dry soil in between waterings. A lot of sage plants are very sensitive to having too much moisture in the soil, so overwatering is very common for these plants. Malabar spinach, which, fun fact, isn't actually a true spinach, also does very well in hot temperatures. It can grow in temperatures exceeding 90 degrees, but it will require very moist soil in order to prevent blossoming, and this is because blossoming of the plant will most likely make the leaves taste bitter. Rosemary is originally a Mediterranean plant, so it actually does very well in warm and dry climates. You can keep this herb in full sun and just make sure that the soil that you put it in is light and also fast draining. And for rosemary, you can also allow for the soil to get dry in between waterings. Okra is also known to thrive in hotter temperatures, and it prefers to be in sandy and loamy soil. Though this plant can do very well in hot temperatures, it also needs to be watered very consistently, and it's best to keep it in more moist soil. Another great choice is the summer squash. These plants do very well in full sun and with consistent watering. Something about these plants that make them a very great choice is the fact that they sort of provide their own shade. It has a lot of leaves that are also very wide, and this is able to provide some protection from the sun for the crops that grow underneath. And this protection can also lower the temperature of the soil, protecting the roots. And when we're talking about what crops can grow in heat and which crops can't grow in heat, it's also important to keep in mind that there is, exceptions to everything, especially considering how vastly different certain climates are and how certain environments are. So it's something to keep in mind. It's also important to remember that there are some crops that may not be considered best for hot weather, but with some good practices and consistency, it is still possible. Some examples are carrots and tomatoes. Carrots thrive in cool weather, but it is still possible to grow them during the warmer months. It is, however, important to keep in mind that they will probably come out a little bit more bitter than usual if you do decide to go that route. But like I said, it is possible as long as you ensure that the soil is loose and loamy, especially since they are root vegetables, and making sure that the soil is consistently moist and there's enough shade for your crop. If you decide to grow tomatoes during the hot weather, it is very, very crucial that you choose the right variety of tomato if you're going to be planting. Some varieties that are very good for handling extreme heat are the Heatmaster, Solar Fire, and the Somerset. These are great choices if you would like to start in the summer. It is also important to keep in mind that the tomato itself consists of mostly water. It's like over 90% water. So it is especially important to make sure that you are watering your tomato plant consistently to make sure that your tomatoes will come out as healthy as possible. So now let's talk a little bit about seeds and the best way to start them. So if you do decide to go down the route of buying your own pack of seeds and starting them yourself, it is very important to try to avoid starting them outside if you are able to. So one of the best options is to use seed starter trays. And these are trays that are specifically used in order to start seeds and in any environment that you choose. So you can grow your seeds in your trays indoors, and then as they grow and as they are getting ready to be transplanted outside, perhaps you can adjust them to the environment by allowing them to stay outside more and more each day. There are certain seeds, however, that don't do as well with being transplanted. Beans in particular do a lot better with being directly sown, so it's also important to be mindful of where exactly you sow your seeds if you do decide to plant beans right away. So that is all that I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all learned something, and I hope you all are able to get growing even in the hot summer months. Make sure that you look out for our following 2 workshops for this series. Up next, we're going to be talking about utilizing shade and watering efficiently. So make sure that you stay tuned for those. But thank you so much, and I hope that you all have a great rest of your day.